Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of a vast forest. The wind hums softly through the trees. The leaves shimmer as the sunlight dances across their surfaces. You feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, the faint vibration of the earth beneath your feet. In this moment, everything feels connected, alive. But what if I told you that the forest you see, the warmth you feel, even the ground beneath you, are not as solid or separate as they seem? At the heart of this experience lies a profound truth. Everything is energy. This is not just poetic speculation but grounded in the fabric of physics and neuroscience. Albert Einstein's famous equation, E=mc², revealed that matter and energy are interchangeable. The chair you sit in, the blood flowing through your veins, even your thoughts, all of it, at the most fundamental level, is energy vibrating at different frequencies. But here's the catch. Most of this energy goes unnoticed. Right now, your brain is filtering millions of signals, sounds, sensations, light shifts, discarding what it deems unimportant. The faint hum of the refrigerator, the softness of your socks, even the air brushing against your skin are registered, but you rarely notice them. This filtering is essential for survival. It keeps you focused. Yet, this same mechanism also blinds you to the vast potential of your mind and body. Think back to the last time you learned something new, a language, a musical instrument, or even a new piece of technology. In the beginning, every movement felt awkward, every step deliberate, but as time passed, your body adapted, and what once felt foreign became second nature. This transformation is the work of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. Neuroscientist Michael Merzenich discovered that the adult brain is far more malleable than previously believed. In a series of groundbreaking studies, he found that with practice, stroke patients could regain movement by rewiring healthy parts of the brain to take over damaged functions. This capacity for change is not limited to extreme cases, it operates in you every day. But here's where philosophy intertwines with science. If the brain can reshape itself, what else can it do that we haven't yet explored? Imagine your mind as a lens, capable of zooming in and out of focus. Most of us live with the lens on autopilot, directed by habits and external circumstances. Energy control, however, is about learning to switch to manual focus. Let's try a simple exercise. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. As you exhale, shift your attention to your hands. Don't move them, just feel them. After a few moments, you might notice a tingling, a faint warmth, or even a subtle pulsing sensation. This is energy, something that was there all along but filtered out by your brain. Athletes use this technique to sharpen reflexes. Musicians rely on it to feel their instruments at a deeper level. In one study, violinists who practiced mentally without physically playing activated the same regions of the brain as those who practiced with the instrument in hand. The mind, it turns out, cannot fully distinguish between real and vividly imagined experiences. So, what does this mean for you? It means that the way you direct your attention shapes your experience of reality. By learning to harness your focus, you can unlock reservoirs of energy you didn't know existed. Consider this. When you sit under the warm glow of a sunset, the experience can feel transcendent or entirely mundane. The difference lies not in the sunset, but in how you choose to experience it. This shift is not passive, it requires intention. Start small. The next time you find yourself overwhelmed, pause, take a slow, deliberate breath. Ask yourself, what am I not noticing right now? This simple question invites your brain to scan beyond the usual filters. With time, you'll begin to perceive more subtle shifts in the room, hidden patterns in conversations, even the faint energy that lingers in stillness. Research from the Harmath Institute shows that practicing awareness can lower stress, improve heart health, and increase overall resilience. Their studies reveal that focusing on positive emotions like gratitude can synchronize the heart and brain, creating a state they call coherence. In this state, energy flows more freely, and decision-making improves. Energy is not something you lack, it's something waiting to be unlocked. It's not about gaining more, it's about using what's already there more efficiently. Think of a car with the parking brake slightly engaged. The engine works harder, but progress is slow. The energy is there, but it's not flowing correctly. This is how many of us live, expending unnecessary effort because of mental resistance, outdated beliefs, and unconscious patterns. But by simply releasing the brake by shifting awareness and allowing energy to flow naturally, you create momentum. As we move deeper into this journey, you'll discover how to align your perception with this ever-present flow of energy. For now, remember this: your attention is the most powerful tool you possess. Use it wisely. Imagine walking through a garden at dawn. The air is crisp, the sky gently shifts from deep blue to soft gold, and dew glistens on every leaf. Now, picture yourself returning to this same garden 10 years from now. It will be different, won't it? Plants will grow, paths may shift, and new life will take root. But what if I told you that the most profound changes won't happen in the garden at all, they'll happen in you? This garden is your mind, and whether it flourishes or withers depends entirely on how you tend to it. Science now confirms what philosophers have long suspected: the brain is not fixed. It is malleable, endlessly reshaping itself in response to experience. This remarkable ability, known as neuroplasticity, is the foundation of learning, healing, and growth. Michael Merzenich, often called the father of neuroplasticity, discovered that even in adulthood, the brain can forge new pathways, recover lost functions, and rewire itself in ways once thought impossible. In his pioneering studies, stroke patients who had lost the ability to move one arm learned to regain control simply by imagining the movement, reinforcing the neural circuits that govern it. Their brains didn't wait for physical healing, they rebuilt through thought alone. Now, consider this: if the mind can rewire itself to heal a paralyzed limb, what else might it be capable of? Many of us carry invisible patterns, habits of thought, reaction, and perception that quietly shape our lives. These patterns, etched by years of repetition, become so automatic that we mistake them for reality. When you walk into a room full of strangers and feel a sudden wave of discomfort, is it the room itself causing that feeling? Or is it the echo of past experiences whispering in your ear? The truth is, much of what we call the world is a mirror reflecting the structure of our minds. The good news is that mirrors can be cleaned, and reflections can change. Imagine your mind as a trail in the forest. Each time you react in the same way, whether it's snapping in frustration or shrinking in self-doubt, you carve that path deeper. Eventually, it becomes the easiest route to take. But what if, instead of walking the same well-trodden path, you chose to step onto new ground? At first, the terrain might feel uneven, the way forward unclear, yet with each step, the trail becomes easier to navigate. This is neuroplasticity in action. Simple exercises can begin this process. The next time you catch yourself slipping into an old pattern, perhaps a familiar worry or frustration, pause for just a breath. In that brief moment, imagine a different response. If irritation rises, picture yourself reacting with curiosity instead. If fear tightens your chest, imagine yourself stepping forward with quiet confidence. This act, subtle as it may seem, sends signals to the brain, planting the seeds of a new pathway. Research supports this profoundly. In a study at Harvard, researchers found that participants who practiced piano scales mentally, without touching the keys, showed almost the same neurological growth as those who physically played. Their brains, unable to distinguish vividly imagined practice from real movement, rewired accordingly. Visualization isn't fantasy, it is rehearsal. So, how can you apply this in daily life? Begin with something small: a gesture, a response, or a mindset you wish to shift. Each morning, as you sip your coffee or tea, set a quiet intention. Perhaps it's to greet people with warmth, to face the day with ease, or to view challenges as opportunities. Hold that thought gently in your mind, allowing it to guide your interactions. Neuroscience tells us that what we repeat, we reinforce. Over time, this simple act of intention reshapes the neural architecture of the brain, reinforcing positive circuits while gradually dissolving the old ones that no longer serve you. But there's more. Just as physical exercise strengthens the body, mental exercise fortifies the mind. Practices such as meditation, learning a new skill, or even reading fiction engage the brain in ways that promote flexibility and resilience. A study conducted by neuroscientist Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin showed that long-term meditation practitioners exhibited greater thickness in areas of the brain associated with attention, emotional regulation, and memory. These aren't just abstract benefits, they translate into sharper focus, calmer reactions, and a greater capacity for joy. For those who wonder whether it's too late to change, whether age has sealed the pathways of the mind, consider this. Eleanor Maguire, a neuroscientist at University College London, discovered that London taxi drivers, who must memorize the complex maze of the city's streets, had significantly larger hippocampi, the brain region responsible for navigation. This growth wasn't found in those younger or less experienced. It developed over years of continued learning, proving that the brain can adapt well into later life. Let this serve as a reminder. The garden of your mind is never beyond renewal. Whether you are 65 or 90, the soil remains fertile, ready for new seeds of thought, experience, and growth. The only requirement is your attention. Tonight, as the day winds down and the world grows quiet, take a moment to reflect. What patterns have shaped your life? Which ones continue to serve you? And which feel like overgrown paths, waiting to be reclaimed? Understand this: not all paths must be walked forever. Some are meant to lead you to new landscapes. In the chapters ahead, we will explore deeper ways to shape the mind, unlocking the hidden reservoirs of energy and awareness that lie just beneath the surface of ordinary experience. For now, remember this simple truth. Your thoughts are not just reflections of the world, they're tools that can reshape it. Every thought, every intention, every quiet decision is a brushstroke on the canvas of your mind. Choose your colors wisely, for the masterpiece is yours to create. Picture yourself walking through an ancient house, one you've lived in for decades. The walls are lined with memories, some framed in joy, others in quiet sorrow. As you move through each room, you notice something curious. There are doors you've never opened, hallways that seem to vanish into shadows. For years, you assumed those doors were locked or led nowhere important. But what if they were never locked at all? What if, with a gentle push, they could swing wide open? This house is your mind. And those unopened doors? They are the invisible rules that shape your life. The silent agreements you've made with yourself about what is possible, permissible, and worth pursuing. We all have them: stories inherited from family, beliefs absorbed from culture, limits we accepted without question. Yet, like the doors in the old house, most of these rules have never truly been tested. The brain, for all its brilliance, is a master of efficiency. To conserve energy, it builds mental shortcuts, guiding us down familiar paths even if those paths no longer serve us. This is why you find yourself reacting the same way to conflict, avoiding risks you secretly long to take, or doubting your ability to learn something new. These patterns were useful once, but like outgrown shoes, they now pinch and restrict. Consider this. In the 1960s, psychologist Martin Seligman conducted a series of experiments that would forever change our understanding of human potential. He placed dogs in a box where they experienced mild but unavoidable shocks. At first, the dogs tried to escape, but when no escape was possible, they eventually stopped trying even when the box was later opened, and freedom was within reach. This phenomenon, which Seligman called learned helplessness, isn't limited to dogs. Humans, too, can become trapped by invisible barriers, conditioned to believe there's no point in trying. But here's the vital lesson. The door to that box was never truly locked. And neither are the doors in your mind. Neuroscience tells us that the circuits reinforcing these limiting beliefs can be rewired. With awareness and intention, the brain's pathways can shift, dissolving patterns that once seemed unbreakable. Eleanor Maguire's research with London taxi drivers showed that even the structure of the brain can change in response to new learning. Their hippocampi, the region responsible for navigation, grew larger as they memorized the labyrinthine streets of the city. This growth didn't occur because they were naturally gifted, but because they consistently stepped beyond the familiar, challenging their brains to adapt. So, how do we begin to challenge our own invisible rules? First, recognize that most limitations exist not in the world, but in perception. In one study, older adults who believed that memory declines with age performed worse on cognitive tests than those who rejected this stereotype. The belief alone shaped their outcomes. This highlights a profound truth. Your expectations sculpt your reality. Start small. Choose one belief that feels limiting, perhaps the idea that it's too late to start something new or that physical decline is inevitable. For the next week, question this belief gently but persistently. Is it universally true? Can you find examples, even small ones, that contradict it? The brain thrives on evidence. Each time you notice even the slightest crack in the old story, that pathway weakens. Take inspiration from Norman Doidge's work on brain plasticity. In his book The Brain That Changes Itself, he recounts the story of a woman who, despite losing the balance function of her inner ear, learned to walk steadily again by retraining her brain to use visual cues. This wasn't achieved through grand gestures but through quiet, consistent effort, small steps that led to remarkable transformation. Remember, even the smallest shift in perception can ripple outward. When you catch yourself hesitating, ask, is this a locked door? Or have I simply assumed it is? Each time you challenge an old belief, you take another step down a new path, forging a trail where none existed before. As you go about your day, notice the subtle rules guiding your actions. Perhaps you hear an inner voice whispering, I'm too old to learn that. Or that's just not who I am. Pause. Ask yourself, says who? This simple question holds immense power. It reveals the invisible architects of your mental landscape, teachers, parents, society, and invites you to decide, consciously, whether to keep or discard their blueprints. Life is far more malleable than we've been led to believe, and the walls of that ancient house, the ones that seem so solid, are often little more than mist. With each breath, each moment of awareness, you hold the key to unlocking new doors, exploring hidden hallways, and expanding the very edges of your world. The journey of breaking invisible rules doesn't happen all at once, but even one open door can flood the entire house with light. So, begin today, with curiosity as your compass and courage as your guide. The world beyond those invisible barriers is vast and waiting, and the most remarkable discovery you may find is not just the new paths that unfold, but the realization that you were never truly trapped to begin with. Imagine standing by a river at sunrise, watching the water wind gently around rocks and fallen branches. The river doesn't fight these obstacles, it flows around them, adapting effortlessly. In this way, nature teaches us a lesson so profound that we often overlook it. Energy, like water, is not something you force, but something you learn to move with. Yet most of us live as if we are swimming upstream, exhausting ourselves against currents we were never meant to resist. The secret isn't in pushing harder but in aligning with the flow already present within and around us. Every cell in your body pulses with energy. Right now, beneath your skin, billions of electrical impulses race along your nervous system, sending signals to lift your hand, adjust your posture, or recall a distant memory. This invisible current is what keeps you alive and connected to the world. But like a dimly lit room, much of this energy is overlooked, not because it isn't there, but because we haven't trained ourselves to see it. Consider this. When researchers at the Harmath Institute studied heart rate variability, they found that emotional states directly influenced the body's energy field. Feelings of gratitude and love created coherent, stable rhythms in the heart, while stress and anger disrupted them. More remarkably, these patterns not only shaped the health of the individual but seemed to influence the energy fields of others nearby. In other words, the energy you carry isn't confined to you, it ripples outward, shaping the world like drops in a pond. But how often do we pay attention to this energy? Most of the time, we race through our days disconnected from the subtle signals within us. We ignore fatigue until it becomes illness, suppress emotions until they rise as tension, and push through life without recognizing that our energy is finite. Learning to manage this energy is not mystical, it is practical, even essential. Start with your breath. The simple act of conscious breathing can shift your entire energy state. When you inhale deeply, you signal to your nervous system that you are safe, activating the parasympathetic response, the part of you designed to restore balance. In moments of stress or fatigue, try this. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. Hold for 4, and exhale for 6. This small shift calms the heart, steadies the mind, and restores the natural rhythm of your energy. Studies from Stanford University show that breathing techniques can significantly reduce cortisol levels, the hormone responsible for stress. In fact, just 5 minutes of deep, intentional breathing can lower blood pressure and improve mood. This isn't just relaxation, it's a way of rewiring your relationship with energy, teaching your body to return to its natural state of flow. But beyond breath, there is another gateway to managing energy: attention. Where your attention goes, energy follows. If you've ever felt drained by a difficult conversation or revitalized by time spent in nature, You've experienced this firsthand. Neuroscience confirms that focused attention activates specific neural pathways, strengthening them over time. This means that by choosing where to place your focus, you shape not only your external reality but the internal landscape of your mind. Try this for one day. Make a conscious effort to notice where your attention drifts. Is it pulled toward worry, regret, or irritation? Or does it linger on beauty, connection, and possibility? Each time you redirect your attention toward something positive, even briefly, you reinforce that pathway in the brain. Over weeks and months, this practice accumulates, reshaping not only how you think but how you feel and move through the world. Athletes, musicians, and even surgeons rely on this principle. In one study, basketball players who mentally rehearsed free throws improved nearly as much as those who physically practiced. The energy of focus bridges the gap between thought and action, allowing the mind to train the body without movement. This principle extends beyond sports. What you imagine with intention has the power to shape your reality. Yet, perhaps the most practical application of energy management lies in how we interact with others. Relationships are exchanges of energy. Whether we realize it or not, a conversation with an old friend can leave you feeling uplifted, while prolonged conflict may drain you for days. This isn't coincidence, it is the natural result of energetic exchange. Consider the last meaningful conversation you had. If you listened deeply, you likely felt more present and connected afterward. This is because attention and presence amplify energy, creating space for both you and the other person to feel seen. In contrast, when we multitask or half listen, the energy dissipates, leaving both parties unsatisfied. So, how can we apply this in daily life? Begin by approaching each interaction with intention. Before answering the phone or stepping into a conversation, take a moment to center yourself. Ask, how can I bring the best of my energy to this moment? This small pause can transform even the most mundane exchanges into opportunities for connection and renewal. Finally, remember this. Energy is not something you acquire, it is something you uncover. Beneath the layers of stress, distraction, and routine lies a natural reservoir of vitality, waiting to be tapped. The key isn't in adding more to your life but in peeling back what no longer serves you. In the same way that a sculptor reveals a figure hidden within stone, you uncover your fullest energy by removing what obscures it: old habits, limiting beliefs, and the constant noise of modern life. Tonight, as the world grows quiet, place your hand on your heart and simply listen. Feel the steady rhythm beneath your palm, the quiet hum of life moving through you. This, too, is energy in motion. It has been with you since birth and will remain until your final breath. Learn to work with it, honor it, and flow with it. In doing so, you may discover that the life you seek, the vitality, peace, and joy is not somewhere distant, but already present, waiting quietly beneath the surface. Imagine standing before a mirror, but instead of reflecting your outer appearance, it reveals the intricate dance of energy within you. You see the soft glow of warmth radiating from your heart, the electric sparks of thought firing across your brain, and faint currents of sensation flowing through your fingertips. This mirror doesn't simply show you as you are. It reveals what you could be: hundreds of possibilities flickering like distant stars, waiting for your focus to bring them into form. In this reflection, you witness the profound truth that physicists have long studied and philosophers have long pondered. The act of observation shapes reality. In the strange world of quantum mechanics, particles exist in multiple states at once, a phenomenon known as superposition. A photon can be in two places simultaneously. Yet the moment it is observed, it collapses into a single, defined point. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrated this puzzling effect, showing that light behaves like both a particle and a wave, but only chooses its form when someone watches. This isn't abstract theory confined to laboratories. It whispers something profound about our daily lives. If observation can alter the very nature of a particle, how much more can it shape the unfolding of our experiences? Consider this. When you walk into a room, your mood subtly influences the space. A warm smile can soften tense conversations, while a glance of irritation can shift the energy in seconds. Though intangible, this exchange is real. Psychologists at Princeton conducted experiments showing that human intention can influence random number generators, nudging them away from pure chance. While the effect is small, The implication is vast. Your consciousness interacts with the world in ways you cannot always see but deeply feel. But why does this matter? Because every day, you stand before your own quantum mirror, shaping the reality that reflects back at you. When you expect difficulty, your mind sifts through experiences and highlights obstacles. When you anticipate joy, your brain opens to opportunities and connections. This isn't mere optimism, it's grounded in neuroscience. The reticular activating system, RAS, a network in the brainstem, acts as a filter, prioritizing information that aligns with your focus. In other words, what you look for, you will find. Imagine an artist standing before a blank canvas. The brush in their hand holds infinite possibilities. But only one stroke at a time will manifest. Life, much like that canvas, responds to the strokes of your attention. If you focus on scarcity, fear, or regret, your mind reinforces those patterns, painting a picture colored by limitation. But shift your focus even slightly and the entire landscape begins to change. This is not about denying difficulties or pretending problems don't exist. It's about choosing where to place your gaze. The late Dr. Joe Dispenza, known for his research on neuroplasticity, demonstrated that patients who visualized their bodies healing experienced measurable physical improvements. In one study, participants who imagined themselves flexing muscles over several weeks increased their strength by 13%. Without lifting a single weight. The mind, it turns out, is not confined to imagination. It spills over into matter, shaping muscles, cells, and experiences in tangible ways. So, how can you apply this knowledge practically? Begin by noticing the movies that play in your mind each day. If your internal dialogue is filled with stories of limitation, pause. Ask yourself, is this the only way the story can unfold? Even entertaining the possibility of a different outcome nudges the quantum mirror, shifting the reflection slightly. This is not about blind positivity but about widening the aperture of perception. Start small. The next time you feel overwhelmed, take a breath and imagine the simplest, most peaceful outcome possible. Picture a conversation resolving smoothly, an errand completed with ease, or a long-held burden gently lifting. These moments of quiet intention reshape the pathways in your brain, reinforcing calm rather than chaos. With repetition, this becomes a habit, a subtle rewiring of your neural circuitry. And remember, just as observation collapses particles into form, your attention brings the formless into focus. When you walk through your day, try this simple practice. Before stepping into a new space, pause and ask, what energy do I want to bring into this room? By setting an intention, you align your consciousness with the reality you wish to create, guiding events in unseen but powerful ways. But there is one final truth: the quantum mirror reflects you are not separate from the reality you observe. The ancient idea of duality of self and world as distinct begins to blur in the light of modern physics. Just as particles entangle across vast distances, so too do our lives weave into the fabric of everything around us. This means that as you change, so does the world in subtle, reciprocal ways. Take a moment tonight to gaze at your reflection, not just in the mirror, but in the events of your day, the conversations you held, the small victories and quiet moments of grace. See yourself not as a passive witness but as an artist, gently shaping the contours of your reality with every thought, word, and gesture. For in this dance between observer and observed, you are both the painter and the painting, the wave and the shore, the light and the mirror that holds it. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting in an old theater, the kind with red velvet seats and flickering lights overhead. The room is dark, save for the bright screen before you, where a familiar movie plays. You've seen this film countless times, so often, in fact, that you know every twist before it happens. But as you sit there, something strange occurs. A crack forms across the screen, and for the first time, you glimpse the world behind it. The movie isn't real. It's a projection, shadows cast by your own mind. And suddenly, the possibility dawns. You can change the script. The brain, remarkable as it is, does not show you the world as it truly is. It shows you the world as you expect to see it. Every second, your senses deliver millions of bits of information to the brain, yet only a fraction reaches your conscious awareness. The rest is filtered, shaped by past experiences, beliefs, and assumptions. This filtering process, while essential for survival, creates what neuroscientists call a perceptual bias, an invisible lens through which you interpret reality. Consider this. Two people can stand side by side, witnessing the same event, yet walk away with entirely different stories of what occurred. This isn't imagination, it's perception at work. In a groundbreaking study at Yale, researchers found that participants exposed to warm physical sensations such as holding a hot cup of coffee were more likely to describe others as kind and generous. Those who held something cold tended to perceive people as distant or unfriendly. The world didn't change, only their internal filters did. This subtle experiment reveals a profound truth. How you feel shapes what you see. And if something as simple as the temperature of your hands can alter perception, imagine the influence of lifelong beliefs, fears, and unexamined stories. But here lies the gift. Just as the brain constructs these filters, it can deconstruct and reshape them. This is not a metaphor, it is a scientific reality. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, means that every time you challenge an old belief or entertain a new possibility, your neural pathways shift. Dr. Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin demonstrated that meditation practitioners physically altered the structure of their brains, thickening regions associated with empathy and attention. In essence, their perception of the world transformed because their inner landscape changed. So, how do we begin to rewrite the script that shapes our reality? The first step is awareness. Throughout the day, pay attention to the stories you tell yourself. When something frustrating happens, notice the narrative that follows: "This always happens to me," or "I'm not good at this." Pause and question it. Is this thought an objective truth? Or is it a well-rehearsed line from an old movie? By simply observing these mental patterns without judgment, you begin to loosen their grip. Next, practice reframing. When faced with a challenge, ask yourself, what else could this mean? Imagine, for instance, that you forget an appointment. The immediate reaction might be frustration or self-criticism. But instead, consider the possibility. Perhaps this is a reminder to slow down. This small shift, repeated over time, rewires the brain, reinforcing pathways of curiosity and openness rather than fear and rigidity. Harvard psychologist Ellen Langer conducted a famous study demonstrating this principle. In the late 1970s, she took a group of elderly men on a retreat designed to mirror the world of 20 years earlier. They were surrounded by the music, news, and decor of the late 1950s, and were instructed to act as if they were younger. By the end of the study, the participants showed remarkable improvements in physical strength, vision, and memory. Their bodies responded to the perception of youth. This study wasn't magic, it was the brain's malleability in action, proving that the stories we live by directly shape our physical and mental well-being. To apply this to your life, begin with small, daily acts of mindfulness. As you walk through your home, notice the details you often overlook: the play of light on the walls, the sensation of your feet against the floor. By grounding yourself in the present, you interrupt the brain's autopilot mode, creating space for new perceptions. Additionally, engage in practices that challenge routine thinking. Try learning something unfamiliar, whether it's a new hobby, language, or skill. Each novel experience acts as a brushstroke on the canvas of your mind, gradually painting a richer, more expansive view of the world. Another powerful technique is visualization. Athletes have long used this method to enhance performance, but its benefits extend far beyond sports. Close your eyes and picture yourself moving through your day with ease, confidence, and clarity. Neuroscientific studies reveal that the brain cannot distinguish vividly imagined experiences from real ones. By consistently visualizing positive outcomes, you train the brain to recognize and expect those realities. Finally, remember that perception is not a solitary act. It is shaped by the environments and relationships we cultivate. Surround yourself with people and spaces that inspire growth and curiosity. Seek out conversations that challenge old perspectives, and be willing to entertain ideas that stretch your current understanding. Tonight, as you reflect on the day, ask yourself this simple question: what did I overlook? Often, the most profound shifts in perception arise not from grand revelations but from noticing the quiet beauty that was there all along. The crack in the screen grows wider, and with it, the understanding that reality is not fixed, it bends, evolves, and dances in response to your attention. This world, rich with hidden pathways, waits patiently for you to rewrite the script, to lift the veil, and to step fully into the unfolding masterpiece that is your life. Imagine waking up one morning to find that the walls of your home are made of paper. The doors, the windows, everything you thought was solid trembles with the lightest touch. At first, this discovery feels unsettling. You had lived for years believing these walls were impenetrable, keeping you safe but also keeping you contained. But as the sun rises and streams through the fragile surface, a realization dawns. These walls were never as strong as they appeared, and the path beyond them has always been within reach. The limits you once accepted were not barriers of reality but boundaries of belief. For most of our lives, we live within mental frameworks. We rarely question assumptions about what is possible, who we are, and how the world works. These invisible structures shape every decision, reaction, and interaction. Yet, as modern neuroscience has revealed, the brain is not a fixed machine, it is a living, breathing instrument, capable of transformation until the final breath. Dr. Michael Merzenich, one of the pioneers of neuroplasticity, demonstrated that even individuals in their 70s and 80s can grow new neural pathways simply by engaging in unfamiliar tasks. This means that your ability to expand, to reshape your thinking, and to awaken to greater potential is not limited by age but by willingness. But awakening to this truth is not merely an intellectual exercise, it is experiential. Consider how often we respond to life on autopilot. A familiar face evokes a predictable emotion. A passing comment triggers a rehearsed reaction. The mind follows well-worn paths, like grooves in a record, playing the same song even when the melody no longer serves us. Yet, the brain holds within it a remarkable gift, the capacity for interruption. Each time you pause and choose to respond differently, by softening instead of bracing, by listening instead of reacting, you disrupt the loop, allowing a new song to emerge. Harvard psychologist Ellen Langer's studies on mindfulness reveal that this simple act of noticing, bringing attention to what is present without judgment, can radically alter physical health and cognitive performance. In one study, participants who were instructed to observe their environment with fresh eyes experienced improvements in memory, coordination, and overall well-being. The brain, it seems, awakens when we do. But how do we break free from patterns that have defined us for decades? The key lies not in dramatic leaps but in small, deliberate acts of awareness. Imagine standing before a locked door. Rather than force it open, you place your hand gently on the knob and turn it slowly. The same applies to your mind. Each time you question an automatic response, is this really true? Or, what else might be possible? You loosen the grip of old conditioning. One of the most powerful tools for this is curiosity. When faced with frustration or fear, rather than resist or suppress, ask, what is this experience trying to show me? Neuroscientist Dr. Richard Davidson found that individuals who approached life's challenges with curiosity and openness displayed increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain associated with higher-order thinking and emotional regulation. Curiosity, it turns out, is not just a mental state but a physiological catalyst for growth. Take, for example, the simple act of walking. Most people walk without noticing the subtle dance between muscles, bones, and breath. But when you bring awareness to each step, the feeling of the ground beneath your feet, the rhythm of your stride, something shifts. This is not trivial, it is transformative. By anchoring yourself in the present, you awaken the brain's capacity to forge new connections. In one study conducted at Stanford, participants who practiced mindful walking showed reduced symptoms of depression and anxiety, proving that awareness in motion can heal the mind. This principle extends far beyond walking. Every conversation, every meal, every sunset carries the potential to awaken deeper presence. The world, rich with color and texture, waits to be seen anew. When was the last time you truly listened, not to respond, but to understand? When did you last savor a meal without distraction or gaze at the sky without checking the time? These simple moments, often dismissed as ordinary, are gateways to extraordinary awareness. Yet, awakening is not solely about noticing beauty, it is also about reclaiming choice. Viktor Frankl, the renowned psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote that the greatest freedom lies in the space between stimulus and response. No matter how constricted our outer circumstances may appear, the ability to choose our internal response remains untouched. This, Frankl believed, is the foundation of true liberation. To live in this space of choice is to engage with life as a participant rather than a passive observer. It means recognizing that while pain and loss may shape our journey, suffering arises when we resist the flow of reality. Acceptance, far from being resignation, is the art of moving with life rather than against it. And as countless studies on resilience have shown, those who accept what is while remaining open to what could be tend to recover from adversity more quickly and with greater strength. Tonight, as you sit quietly before sleep, reflect on the patterns that shaped your day. Were there moments where you felt constrained? Moments where the walls of your inner world felt unyielding? Picture those walls softening, becoming as light as paper. Remind yourself that awakening does not happen all at once but through small, consistent acts of courage and attention. Each breath, each decision to choose presence over habit, is a crack in the illusion of limitation. You are not a passive bystander in the theater of your life. The projector is in your hands, and the script is yours to revise. So step forward, gently but deliberately, knowing that the path beyond the paper walls is yours to walk. One conscious breath at a time. Picture yourself standing at the shore of a vast ocean at dawn. The horizon stretching endlessly before you. The surface of the water is calm, but beneath it, powerful currents move unseen, shaping the tides. In many ways, life mirrors this ocean. On the surface, events unfold the routines of daily life. Conversations, decisions, and moments that seem small in isolation. Yet beneath that surface, your intentions quiet, often unnoticed, shape the deeper currents that direct the course of your life. The question is not whether you influence the world around you, but whether you are aware of this influence and guiding it with intention. For centuries, philosophers and mystics have spoken of the power of thought and belief in shaping reality. But now science stands beside them, confirming what ancient traditions long understood. Dr. Dean Radin, a leading researcher in consciousness studies, conducted experiments showing that human intention can subtly affect physical systems, from altering the structure of water molecules to influencing the growth patterns of plants. While these shifts may seem small, their implications are profound. Your focus is not passive, it is an active force that ripples into the world around you. This idea finds even stronger footing in neuroscience. The brain operates much like a prediction machine, constantly anticipating outcomes and aligning your actions to match those predictions. In studies conducted at the Max Planck Institute, researchers discovered that the brain begins preparing for movement seconds before a conscious decision is made. What this reveals is startling. Your unconscious mind often sets the stage for your choices, influenced by the dominant patterns of your thoughts and beliefs. This is why what you expect, whether consciously or not, so often becomes what you experience. But if unconscious patterns shape so much of your reality, how can you shift them? The key lies in intentional alignment. Consider the simple act of planting a garden. You do not force the flowers to grow, you create the right conditions: rich soil, sunlight, water, and allow nature to take its course. Similarly, by aligning your environment, habits, and focus with the life you wish to cultivate, you become a co-creator with the unseen forces that shape reality. Start with this question: what am I consistently nurturing with my attention? Neuroscientists have found that the brain's neural pathways strengthen with repetition. This means that whatever thoughts dominate your inner landscape, whether fear, gratitude, or hope, are the ones that expand and reinforce themselves. In practical terms, if you frequently dwell on limitations, your brain will filter the world to confirm them. Conversely, if you cultivate thoughts of possibility and openness, you train your mind to recognize opportunities where others see obstacles. One of the simplest ways to align intention with reality is through visualization, a technique athletes and performers have used for decades. In one experiment at the University of Chicago, basketball players who visualized practicing free throws improved nearly as much as those who physically trained. The brain, it appears, makes little distinction between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. By regularly visualizing the life you desire, whether it is improved health, deeper relationships, or creative fulfillment, you activate the same neural circuits that would fire if that reality were already unfolding. Yet visualization alone is not enough. It must be paired with action and alignment. Small, consistent choices bridge the gap between thought and reality. Imagine wishing for better physical health but continuing habits that diminish vitality. The intention, though genuine, remains misaligned. But when action daily walks, nourishing food, rest aligns with intention, the external world gradually reshapes to reflect that inner shift. This is the dance between thought and form, between vision and the tangible world. Consider the lives of those who embody this principle. Look to people like Nelson Mandela, who held onto a vision of freedom even during decades of imprisonment. His unwavering focus not only preserved his spirit but helped reshape an entire nation. Closer to home, reflect on the small victories you've achieved, the skills you learned, the relationships you nurtured. Each began as a thought, a quiet seed planted in the fertile ground of intention and brought to life through steady, intentional action. The ancient Greeks spoke of kairos, the opportune moment when action and destiny align. These moments do not arrive by chance but are cultivated through attention and readiness. When you consistently hold a vision, preparing yourself as though it is already on its way, you create a magnetism that draws those moments closer. This is not superstition, it is the natural result of aligning mind, body, and environment with the outcomes you seek. Tonight, as you reflect on the day, consider the currents moving beneath the surface of your life. Ask yourself, am I drifting? Or am I guiding these currents with intention? If the answer feels unclear, begin small. Choose one area, a relationship, a project, a personal goal, and bring mindful attention to it. Each day, devote just 5 minutes to visualizing its best outcome. And let this vision quietly inform your actions. Over time, you will notice something remarkable. The world begins to soften. To respond, opportunities once hidden in the shadows step forward. Conversations unfold that point you toward answers you hadn't sought. This is not coincidence, it is the result of aligning your inner world with the outer one. The ocean, vast and powerful, moves not by force but by rhythm and intention. So too does your life. You are not a spectator standing at the shore, you are the tide itself, shaping and reshaping the land with every breath, every thought, and every quiet act of creation.